Hey everybody, I haven't done one of these in a while, but figure it's a good time to. There's a lot of new events happening in my life and in Vicky's life, my wife, and we've been spending a lot of time in the past 2 months just saying yes to every social activity, dinner, outing, hangout. Just mainly because we recognize that we don't have much time up ahead, and as you guys know from the title, we are having a kid, and in fact, we are inducing on January 21st, which by the time of me making this video and putting it out there is tomorrow. So you may be watching this as we have already given birth to our kid. But, one of the big things that catalyzed this video is I recognize that a large part of my audience is in the 18 to 30-year-old range. A lot of people are single, but, and hanging out with a lot of my friends too, who range from being single to being married, and not having kids. A lot of them have come to us with a lot of questions. They're excited, and I figure I just make this video because I think a lot of people are curious what it's like to experience, going through pregnancy. Of course, me as the person not holding the baby, it is definitely a lot easier for me, but I figure a lot of people will want the perspective of, me as the dad. So I'm just going to run through a few questions. Is it a boy or a girl? It's a boy. What's the name? It's Asher. And the funny thing about a name, and I didn't really realize this, of course the name is important, names, titles, you speak a lot and have importance. But it was something that Vicky and I both struggled with. I grew up with a very common name, Daniel Lee. If you grew up in any kind of Korean American or Chinese American world, there were a million John Kims, Daniel Lees, David Lees, David Kims, and I didn't really like that I always had the same name as like one or two other people in school. I always grew up with another Daniel Lee, and I wanted to have something unique, so that was something that was really important to us. And so eventually we met this old person named Asher from our church, and the name kind of stuck with us. We had a moment with chatting with him, and that led us to go like Asher's a great name. Let's go with it. For context, it means blessed or happy, and that's something that we want Asher to be, like to know that he is happy and that he's blessed and that he is loved. So it not only was it a unique sounding name, but it had a name that has a lot of meaning to us. So the next question that I get a lot is, am I excited? And this is a really interesting question because I think intellectually the idea of having a baby is exciting. But even though I sit here today, the day before, in theory, we're going to be in labor, and I'm still not emotionally excited. And I thought to myself, am I weird? Is this weird? Like, I should be excited. But I actually heard among dads that this is actually quite normal, and it wasn't until they held the baby that all of a sudden the emotions came. They started crying, they had joy, and the emotions started flooding out of them. But until then, I don't know if this is because I tend to be a little bit more reserved in my emotions, or I'm not excited as much as probably the average person, but I am not excited, and apparently that's okay, and in fact very normal. And then another thing is, like, has anything changed for me now knowing that I'm going to be a dad soon? And I would say there's a few things. So there's, of course, a lot of mindset shifts that are happening, right? My time, my resources, my finances, my emotions, my energy are going to be, placed over to having to take care of a newborn. So the idea of even, like, hanging out with friends and stuff, like, I can't go do that, right? Like, this baby is going to be around the clock between Vicky and myself. So now it's less about like, hey, how do I progress myself further in my career, and all this stuff and my personal branding and all that, to hey, like, how do I set up someone else for maximum success, and how do I set up my wife in a way that I can support her as we go into parenthood together. So anything that has gone into, I don't know, like what I would describe as like ambition, or like what are the next steps for me, have gone to like, how do I prepare this newborn for success? In addition to that, I have passively or like subconsciously started, observing, parents and their kids, and if I see, teenagers or high schoolers with a certain kind of mindset or an attribute that I admire, I usually ask the parents, hey, like, I noticed that your kid is really courageous, or they're really brave, or they seem to have a lot of wisdom. Like, how did you cultivate that? And I've been really picking the brains of a lot of parents around us, just to go like, hey, like, what did you do? How are they able to gain confidence, and in whatever means possible, that we just have had a lot of conversations. Now, of course, every kid is different, is the very blanket umbrella thing, and understanding that every kid's going to have different needs. They're all unique in their own ways. It's interesting to see, like, almost like contradictory like advice from one set of parents to another set of parents, but they both end up working in their own way. So that's one thing I'm going to have to just keep in mind, is just to remain present and understanding to our kids' needs. Of course, I have been always excited at the idea of becoming a father, of imparting, I guess, what I have learned, and setting up my future children for success in the world. So and then I also observed my life and how I was brought up. There are definitely trade-offs, and growing up kind of in an Eastern kind of way, I grew up very disciplined, and I was able to carry me through a lot of good habits, but there are also some cons with that. And so I'm still constantly examining, like, not to throw the baby out of the bathwater, but what are things that I can take from my parents and implement, and what are some things that I can kind of tinker with. Of course, a lot of these kind of things will come much later. The baby can't even talk or do anything, so it's a matter of just like making sure that the needs are met. So yeah, that's the big thing that I'm going through. And then in the changes in Vicky, she's definitely nesting a lot, and what I mean by nesting is getting the house clean and ready as much as possible. And I think the funny thing about her, because she wants the baby out, she's like, I love the baby, but I don't like the baby. And this kind of just speaks to the fact that that our baby keeps kicking her in the middle of the night. She has to stay awake, and so she's sharing her body with the baby. So definitely been quite intrusive for her, but I think we're both excited. And I think that's just what I want to share here. A large part is just sharing our experiences. We've just noticed a lot of our friends have been very curious. They've been asking us a lot of questions. They've been thinking about kids of their own. And so I figure, rather than kind of answer, the same questions over and over again that people may have, I might as well put out this video. Of course, be more than welcome, questions and conversations. And if you have, any questions of your own, this is probably one of the few times I might go into the YouTube comments and actually like answer a few things. But lo and behold, tomorrow's the due date. If you're watching this video, very likely we probably already gave birth, and we're excited to move into the next phase of our lives.